Welcome back, class 8, to the online classes. We had already started chapter 2, reproduction in plants and animals. Today we are going to continue with the same, that is sexual reproduction in plants. Already we had studied about the vegetative propagation or asexual reproduction in plants and the different methods. Now what is sexual reproduction in plants? Plants reproduce sexually with the help of flowers. And then inside the flower, both male and female parts are present. Like the male part of the plant or the flower is called stamens. And the stamens produces the male gametes which are known as pollens. These pollen grains or the male gamete fuses with the eggs which is the female gamete. So when pollens combines with the eggs, that is the female gamete, they forms the zygote. That results in the formation of a new plant. That process of fusion of male gamete with the female gamete is called fertilization, and the zygote develops into a new plant, that is a baby plant. That baby plant will germinate into a new plant, into a complete organism. So this is the method of sexual reproduction in plants. So what is the unit or the smallest part of sexual reproduction in plants? It is the flower is the reproductive organ of the plants. Means flower is the organ which contains both male and female part of the flower of the plant. So first we will study about the flower. The structure of flower. So what is flower? How to write the definition? It is a modified shoot in which nodes and internodes are highly condensed. So definition of flower. Flower is a modified shoot. Flower is a modified shoot. Shoot means the part of the stems that is called the shoot, in which nodes and internodes are highly condensed. In which nodes and internodes are highly condensed. Condensed means they are very close to each other, indistinguishable. Now this flower is the reproductive part of the plant. Flower is the reproductive part of the plant. Flower is the reproductive part of a plant. And the flower contains 4 holes. Each and every flower contains 4 layers or whorls. These layers, the different layers of the flowers are called whorls. So there are 4 parts in a flower. These are called whorls. W-H-O-R-L-S. So what are the different parts of the flower? 4 parts are there. What are the names? The names are: number 1, calyx. Number 2, corolla. One by one we will study about them along with the diagram. Number 3, androecium, which is the male part of the flower, is called androecium. And the 4th part, that is female part of the flower, which is present in the center, is called gynoecium. Okay, so what are the 4 different parts of the flower? Calyx, corolla, androecium, gynoecium. Starting from outside, it is calyx, and the unit of calyx is sepals, means it is made up of sepals. The unit of corolla is petals, that is the brightly colored leaves, and the unit of androecium is stamens, means the smallest part is called stamen. Stamen consists of anther and filament. This one further divided into 2 parts, anther and filament. The stalk is called filament. Then the next one is gynoecium, or the female part. It is made up of the smallest unit called pistil or carpel. And it is further divided into 3 parts: pistil or carpel, stigma, style and ovary. There is no place: stigma, style, ovary. You can write it there: stigma, style and ovary. I will show you in the diagram all these parts. Okay. So now next we will study about each of them, these parts, and their functions, their structure, along with the diagram. Okay. So first we will draw this diagram. You have to draw as homework also. Draw a diagram to show all the different 4 parts of the flower. What are the 4 different parts of the flower? That you have to do. Okay. Let's see what are these 4 different parts in the diagram. and then I will explain you along with the help of the diagram only. Okay, so let's start with the diagram. This one you have to do in copy also as homework. Now first one is the stalk of the flower on which the flower is burned. I will try to draw it here in the center. This is the stalk of the flower with which the flower is attached to the stem, like this is the stem. Okay, the stem is not required, it is not the part of the flower, so no need to write here. Now this is the stalk of the flower, this is required. From here the flower part starts. It is known as pedicel. What is it called? Pedicel. The stalk means by which you hold the flower, that part is called pedicel. The tip of the pedicel means the upper part is broad and flat, like the swollen. This broad and swollen tip of the pedicel on which all the floral parts are burned, it is known as thalamus or receptacle. What is the name? Thalamus or receptacle. So if asked what is thalamus or receptacle, your answer is the swollen tip of pedicel on which all the floral parts are present, each called thalamus or receptacle. Okay, I'll write it here so that it will be clear. Pedicel, stalk of the flower. Stalk of flower by which it is attached to the stem. By which it is attached to the stem is called pedicel. Now what is thalamus or receptacle? Thalamus or receptacle is the swollen tip. Tip means the upper part of pedicel on which all floral parts, means flower parts, are present. The swollen tip of the pedicel on which all the flower parts are burned or present is called thalamus or receptacle. So now we'll start with the outermost layer of the flower, which is leaf-like green structure. It is known as, this is known as sepals. The unit is called sepals, S-E-P-A-L-S, and there may be 4 to 5 sepals. They are green in color. So all the sepals collectively it is called calyx. Since it is the outermost layer of the flower, it provides protection to the inner layers of the flower. Okay, so this is the outermost layer of the flower, the first layer, the first wall of the flower. Then comes the second wall of the flower, which is made up of colorful leaf-like structures, which is known as petals. The function of petals is, like this one is petals. Since they are brightly colored, like you know that flowers are of different colors, it is due to the presence of these colorful petals. They are the ones who attract the insects for pollination. And together all the petals are known as corolla. Collective name is corolla. So first one is sepals, that is called calyx. Combined name is calyx, no need to confuse between them. The second one is petals, the combined name is corolla. Third one is the male part of the flower, which consists of a long stalk, which is known as an filament. What is it called? It is known as filament. And a bilobed anther. This is one lobe, this is another lobe. So it is called bilobed anther. What is this? This is anther. So anther and filament together makes one stamen, S-T-A-M-E-N. And all the stamens together they form androecium, or the male part of the flower. Similarly here also I can draw one stamen. Now in the center we have the female part of the flower, which consists of a broad flat stigma on which the pollens will land or fall, and then these pollens will germinate and it will pass through a long stalk which is known as style, and finally we have the swollen ovary at the base. This is the ovary part of the flower. So this one, it is known as stigma, the broad flat surface to receive the pollen grains. This one is called style, the long stalk from here to here, it is called style. And the last part, this one, it is known as ovary, O-V-A-R-Y. Together they are known as pistil or carpel. And all the pistil or carpels together they form the female part of the flower, which is called gynoecium. Now inside the ovary, means after fertilization, this part of the flower, that is the ovary, changes into fruit, and inside the ovary we have the ovule. These ovule are the one which changes into seeds. After fertilization, the ovule is marked here, you can mark ovule also. Ovule develops into seed after fertilization, and the ovary changes into fruit. So what are the four different parts of the flower we studied? The outermost part is called sepals. We started with pedicel. The stalk of the flower is called pedicel, by which it is attached with the stem. Then the tip of the pedicel, which is swollen, broad and flat, on which all the floral parts are born or present, is called thalamus or receptacle. Then the outermost wall of the flower, which is leaf-like, it is called sepals. And since there are 5 sepals or more than 5 sepals are there, together it is called calyx. Because they are green in color, they can help in photosynthesis, they can perform photosynthesis, and they can also give protection to the inner layers of the flower. Then the second layer of the flower, this one, which is made up of colorful leaf-like structures, there can be 4 to 5 or 5 to 6 petals. They are called petals, and all the petals together they form corolla. They attract insects. They may be colorful, they may be scented, so that they can attract the insects, and they also produce nectar at the base, the sweet juice, by which the insects will go and feed themselves, like honeybees will go and visit the flowers, suck the nectar and get the food from there and collect it in their honeycomb, so that it can be changed into honey. And then we have the male part of the flower, which is known as stamen. Each stamen consists of a long stalk called filament, and on the tip we have bilobed anther. Inside the anther we have the anther lobes, in which the male gametes or the pollens are produced. At the time of pollination, they are released from here and transferred to the stigma in self-pollination. Then we have the last part of the flower, that is central part of the flower. It consists of the female part, that is pistil or carpel. There are 2 names, pistil or carpel, which is further divided into 3 parts. Stigma, which is broad, flat, sticky, so that all the pollens can land here. Means this is the receiving part of the pollen grains. All the pollen grains will fall here. The one which is carried by the insect, or by the wind, or by water, or by any other pollinating agent. Then we have a long stalk, which is known as the long tube is there. This tube is called style. And finally the base is swollen, that is known as ovary. And ovary is the one which develops into fruit after fertilization, whereas the ovules which are present inside it, they changes into seed. So the homework is to draw this diagram of a flower and label all the parts. Along with the functions also you write, because I have already explained all the functions. Okay. Now next we will study about the calyx, corolla already we have done. That is flowers. I will just say flowers. What is bisexual flowers? What is unisexual flowers? Those flowers in which both the male and female parts are present, they are called hermaphrodite or bisexual flowers. But there are certain flowers, like in case of papaya, in case of cucumber, male and female flowers are present in different plants. Such flowers are called unisexual flowers. If only male part is there, it is known as staminate flower. If only female part is present, it is known as pistillate flower. And if both are present, like in case of maize plant, both male and female flowers are there. In case of China rose also, male and female flower parts both are present in a flower. They are called bisexual flower. Okay. Now next topic which we are going to do after studying the different parts of the flower is pollination. What is pollination? The definition and the types of pollination. Pollination is transfer of pollen grains from the anther to the stigma of a flower. So I write the definition here. Transfer of pollen grains from the anther to the stigma of a flower. Anther is the male part and stigma is the female part. of the flower. So during pollination, the male gametes, that is the pollen grains means male gametes, they are transferred from the anther, that is the male part where the pollens are produced, to the stigma, that is the female part of the flower. Now pollination is of two types. Now what is pollinating agent if it is asked? Pollinating agent means those substances which helps in bringing about pollination. Like pollens are transferred by wind, it can be transferred by water, it can be done by insects, or it can be done by man also. So first we will study about the types of pollination. In your book, 3 different types are mentioned. Mainly 2 are there, but third one is counted as pollination done by man. So I will just write down the name. First one is self-pollination. Then number 2 is cross-pollination. And the third one is called pollination done by man, which is artificial pollination. Artificial pollination. Okay, so let's do one by one. Definition of each one of them. What is self-pollination? I'll try to write it here. Self-pollination: transfer of pollen grains. Transfer of pollen grains from the anther of one flower to the stigma of another flower, of the same plant. Means only one plant should be there. In self-pollination, the plant is one. Like if I am taking this one as a plant, and here one flower I have drawn, and this is the anther, this is the stigma. So within this one, if transfer occurs, within one plant only, it is called self-pollination. Now if there are 2 flowers also, like from this flower, anther is transferred to the stigma of this flower, then also it is called self-pollination. Once you go in higher classes, you will study. This is called autogamy if it takes place within the same flower. But if the transfer occurs between 2 flowers of the same plant, it is called geitonogamy. Both of them are 2 different types of self-pollination. So self-pollination is further divided into 2 types. That is for higher classes. It is called autogamy, and this one is called geitonogamy, Geiteno, geitonogamy. Means here 2 flowers are there, here 1 flower is there. But in both the cases, only one plant is there. Okay, in self-pollination means one plant. Cross-pollination means same definition, but here we have tried flowers of the same plant. No, this will 2 different plants should be there. So in cross-pollination, transfer of pollen grains from the anther of one flower of one plant to the stigma of another flower of the other plant. That is known as cross-pollination. Now third one is artificial pollination. What is artificial pollination? The pollination which is done by man is called artificial pollination. It is done by the plant breeders when they will select the flowers to be pollinated by the desired characteristics which they want in the plant. Like they will select a high-yielding variety of plant, they will select the pollens from that plant, and they will deposit on the stigma of the flower of the plant to get the desired characters. So such type of pollination which is brought about by man is called artificial pollination. It is beneficial for us, or it is good for us, because we can raise such plants which are commercially important or which are hybrid, which can produce good varieties of seeds, large amount of grains can be produced, and it will be good for our use. So we can help to improve the variety of plants by artificial pollination. Okay, so today we'll do up to here only. In the next class we'll continue with the types of or the agents of pollination and discuss the characteristics of each of those agents. So as homework, you will draw the flower, you will write the definition of pollination and draw the chart of types of pollination and write the definition of all the different types of pollination, like define self-pollination, cross-pollination, artificial pollination. Today this much only. Thank you.